In the 12th century, a Sunni Muslim dynasty of Kurdish origin forged a massive domain across Egypt and the Middle East. Under the leadership of their founder, Saladin, the Ayyubid Empire united vast territories and successfully repelled the military advances of the European Crusaders. During this period of stability, the region experienced an economic and cultural boom. The empire maintained highly profitable trade relations with Europe and heavily funded the construction of madrasas, dedicated schools for teaching Islamic law. The ruling class also placed a high value on education, drawing leading experts in medicine and science directly into the royal court. They also poured immense resources into architecture. To secure their expanding borders, the Ayyubids constructed sprawling religious complexes and towering stone fortresses, like the formidable walls built to encircle and protect Cairo. Looking at their wealth, their military infrastructure, and their cultural footprint, this unified superpower appeared entirely secure. It looked like an empire capable of dominating the region for centuries. Yet, immediately following Saladin's reign, the Ayyubids adopted a system of governance that baked a severe vulnerability right into their foundation. They quickly transitioned into a semi-feudal structure. Instead of a centralized government, authority diffused outward, fracturing into semi-autonomous regional emirs. To maintain military dominance, these emirs leaned heavily on the Mamluks, elite slave soldiers. Eventually, the empire's true power concentrated entirely within this separate group. During peacetime, this decentralized network functioned well enough, but relying on autonomous emirs and outsourced generals created a precarious situation. Under the pressure of a multi-front crisis, a structure built on divided loyalties was practically guaranteed to fracture. That crisis arrived in 1250. During the Seventh Crusade, King Louis IX of France led an invasion force into Egypt. In the middle of organizing the defense against the Christian knights, the Ayyubid Sultan, al-Sheli, suddenly fell ill and died. Facing an immediate invasion without a ruler, the Sultan's widow, Shajar al-Dur, took command in secret. She coordinated directly with the elite Mamluk generals, holding the line against the European heavy cavalry. Together, they successfully repelled the invaders and even captured the French king. With the immediate threat neutralized, the late Sultan's son, Turanshah, arrived to take the throne. Upon claiming power, he immediately made a catastrophic administrative decision. The Mamluk generals had just orchestrated the survival of his empire. Instead of rewarding them for their victory against the Crusaders, Turanshah chose to politically isolate them, deliberately severing them from the ruling inner circle. The backlash was swift and violent. In 1250, the alienated Mamluk commanders revolted, assassinated Turanshah, and seized total authority over Egypt for themselves. By alienating the very soldiers keeping the empire secure, the new sultan turned his own defensive shield into a conquering force. This single coup tore the Ayyubid realm in half. The Mamluks now controlled Egypt, while Ayyubid leader Yusuf clung to Syria. Attempting to reclaim his lands, Yusuf marched an army into Egypt. Despite superior numbers, his forces were defeated by the Mamluks and forced back. After months of skirmishes and a brief alliance involving the Crusaders, both Muslim factions realized the infighting was pointless. In 1253, they signed a treaty finalizing the division. Egypt and Palestine belonged to the Mamluks, while the Ayyubids kept a strict border around Syria. They had exhausted their troops, fractured their leadership, and drawn their focus entirely westward, leaving their eastern borders completely exposed, just as a massive new threat approached from Asia. In 1258, the Mongol forces under Hulagu Khan descended upon the region. They sacked Baghdad with brutal efficiency, executing the ruling caliph and completely overwhelming the local defenses. By 1260, the Mongols pushed directly into Ayyubid-controlled Syria. They laid siege to Aleppo, devastating the city and demolishing portions of its massive stone citadel. Facing total destruction, the true cost of the Ayyubid semi-feudal system finally materialized. Rather than rallying their forces behind Yusuf to mount a unified defense, several regional emirs prioritized their own survival. They chose to break their alliances and surrender their cities to the Mongols in exchange for keeping local authority. Recognizing that his political and military support had evaporated, Yusuf fled Damascus just before it surrendered. The Mongols eventually captured him, erasing the last major pocket of Ayyubid influence in the Middle East. The Mongols delivered the final blow, but the Ayyubid Empire actually crumbled from the inside out. When faced with an overwhelming adversary, their decentralized network dissolved into self-interest. While the Ayyubid leaders were fleeing or surrendering to the Mongol advance, the Mamluks of Egypt, the very same soldiers the dynasty had alienated, marched out to meet the threat. In September of 1260, they won the pivotal Battle of Ain Jalut. This victory allowed the Mamluks to sweep through Syria, claiming the territory and establishing total dominance over the Middle East. As for the Ayyubids, their once great dynasty was reduced to a few fractured remnants. A handful of descendants were allowed to rule as quiet puppets in the city of Hama, and another small branch survived quietly in an Anatolian principality until the 16th century. The Ayyubids left behind a legacy of grand architecture and a unified Sunni identity, yet they could not sustain the unity Saladin first forged. By prioritizing regional autonomy and alienating their elite defenders, they ensured that when the crisis finally arrived, the empire would fail from within.